Hello and welcome to this edition of the BSN Monthly Brief. The BSN Monthly Brief is a series where we share BSN news and updates with our community. So we have myself, Tim Bailey here, and Yifan He, who's the CEO and founder of Red Date Technology. I'm going to start by talking a little bit about some of the recent news on the BSN. There have been a number of articles published over the last month, with such big outlets as Bloomberg, also Gulf Business News from our time in the Middle East, and then Forkast News has also published a story about BSN Spartan and the expansion of BSN Spartan. I think some of the key themes that have come up are the growth and the rise of CBDCs and enterprise and governments using blockchain technology. Obviously, the BSN Spartan network with its use of public chain technologies that don't involve cryptocurrencies. That's certainly a very timely story given sentiment in the media around cryptocurrencies in the aftermath of FTX. And some of the resulting news there. So those are some of the key things we'll talk about. Maybe one of the other themes that came up in the article was, the origin of BSN from China, and the BSN Spartan network. And one of the questions that was raised is, if this infrastructure that we launched with BSN Spartan, originally comes from a company that has origins in China. Is it trustworthy, and can global developers feel comfortable working on that? So let me address that question to you head on, Yifan. The role of China or the Chinese government in the activities that we're doing outside of China. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Okay. First, I want to say it's a reasonable question. Okay, because that's the geopolitical environment today, and not only Western people and the company don't trust Chinese companies operating in their territories, and also inside China, more and more people and the company don't trust Western technologies. So it's an environment here. It's a fact. So there's nothing better about that. So people question each other, but the real thing is how you address as a company, as a commercial entity, how to address the concern. So it's like a customer concern. You need to solve that. You need to address that. So the difference, I know there's many companies, when they move to, for example, U.S. market, it costs a lot, uncertainty there, including the software companies and some, like phone app companies, right? Like TikTok. One reason for the untrust is most of the stuff related to hardware or a phone app is not open sourced. Okay, so when the software or hardware, for example, the chip, there's also software inside the chip, right? It's hard coded into the hardware, so it's really hard.
Firmware, right? Yeah.
Yes. So which means people don't fully understand how the data is processed, and I believe there's not major some problem backdoors. I personally I don't believe that. I don't believe US also put backdoors in the all the devices shipped to China. Okay, I think it's like jokes. Okay, but because it's not open sourced, people cannot prove it. It causes a problem. Okay, personally, I think this is the main reason, because today it's like 21st century. Okay, the most people, serious, business and the government, they understand technology. It's not like 100 years ago, 200 years ago. So as long as it's open source, it can be reviewed, audited, and also to make sure it works. That comes BSN. Okay, what we do is a fully open source software. When we promote anything related to BSN outside China, one rule we stick to is fully open source everything. So for example, the Spartan network we just launched, when people set up the data center, everything is open source. So the smart contract, the management, the data center software, the blockchain nodes software, basically everything, and we don't even want you to download the binary file from GitHub and install it. We want you to download the source codes, review them, compile by yourself, then install. So once you are 100% open source, you basically give people the chance and the means to inspect and review and audit. So I think this is actually the way to make people, to trust your technology. So if you don't do this and you just ask people to trust, it's really hard. So this is one thing, second one is always concern. It's not only for, the Chinese company, US company stuff, it's in general, it's the customer's privacy. Okay, that's why, people blame Facebook, Ali, inside China, they just hold too much customer detailed privacy data. Then it becomes another concern, right? But everything related to BSN, what we do is we offer people to use BSN anonymously. We don't even want your name. Okay, you just use it because what we provide is the infrastructure. We just need people to use them, not collecting data, because our business is not built on, our customers use the data. For example, the water company, I always use water company as an infrastructure example. In the city, if you, for example, in New York, you go to the park, there's a small fountain, right? Is that called fountain? Yeah, so you can go there, push and drink. You don't need to give your name by drinking water, okay? So that's why it's for BSN Spartan network. You can download our source code, compile, install, and you don't even need to tell us who you are. You just provide an email address, a Google, a Gmail, a Hotmail, whatever that's it. That's it. No, nothing. Okay, and because BSN is still a commercial product and the project, so you in long term you need to get credit to basically deploy and access your application on Spartan network. When you pay for it, you can also choose to pay in USDC. So we just want to make sure everything is anonymous. So that's the second thing. Okay, we make sure we don't collect any user data. Okay, and the third one, because it's a blockchain, so everything, when you install our data center, everything you do locally, because you install the data center in your local environment, right, in your own system. So everything it does, all the transaction, all the data movement, it goes on chain. So your local data center never calls our centralized system and the passing data here. So because they open source, you can inspect it. So everything is the data movement is interact with your local system and the blockchain. So when everything on blockchain, it's just like Ethereum. If it's transparent data, it's transparent. If you encrypt it, it's encrypted. If you want to make that so secure, in the most secure way to to deploy a smart contract, encrypt everything before getting on chain, then put on chain. I mean, it really depends on you how you encrypt the data to make sure. But once you put it on chain, it's on chain. Okay, so it's just like Ethereum, So that's the third thing. Is we just make sure everything is transparent. Okay, so that's why I think how to address the China issue with BSN project outside China. First, open source. Second one is being anonymous. The third one is the data transmission. Everything is transparent. So that's basically, I think that's everything a technology project can do to make sure, there's no problem. So personally, I think with this kind of level of openness, we are very, very confident. The China background is always an issue, but slowly people will trust the technology, trust our technology, because we are doing the right thing, and everything can be verified. It's not like I talk here and everybody trust me. Don't trust me. This is actually I tell all the people I met when I was 18-year-old, don't trust human being, but trust open source project, because you can inspire everything. And human being is not open source. Even you coming open, you couldn't know what I'm thinking. Okay, so never fully trust a human being. Okay.
Okay, good. I'm going to move on to another topic, Yifan. So Bloomberg wrote a story recently about the BSN Spartan network and using non-cryptocurrency public chains. And in the article, they one of the key points they made is the difference between cryptocurrency as an application and blockchain as a technology infrastructure or an enabler. Can you talk a little bit about the difference between those two things? And I think it's particularly important right now, given a lot of the news and the fallout from the FTX issue around cryptocurrencies.
Okay. First, the mission statement of BSN project is way in short term. Okay, long term we want to build the second layer of internet, right? But in short term, it's we really like the decentralized technology. Okay, so that's why our mission is to bring the decentralized the technology to all the IT industry and the traditional business beyond cryptocurrencies. That's basically our mission statement. So I totally agree with Bloomberg. It's cryptocurrency is just one small, simple, early project built based on blockchain technology. It's basically, I always make what cryptocurrency is. It's basically the system, technical system. It's basically a decentralized banking system. It's a big ledger. It's a balance sheet of a bank, and all the individual wallets. It's like the individual accounts inside the bank, right? The smart contract is basically scripts inside the banking system to move money around, in a large number of accounts and quickly. So everything actually is the very old traditional banking system. But the only difference is they decentralize the whole thing. So not one bank control the whole thing. It's controlled by, the public. So everybody can open accounts. You don't need to go to bank, and everybody can deploy a script, smart contract to move money around, among the accounts you have permission to. So cryptocurrency basically is a decentralized banking system. Then it creates a $2 trillion market. Even after the crash, it's still 1 point something trillion. So there's no innovation for specific part of the cryptocurrency technology, and everything is a very old, like 40-year, 50-year-old banking system. But once you decentralize it, it creates a new innovative space for people to access and do their own thing. So that's actually give us the idea, why not other industries, right? The banking, that's one, then can we move to the restaurant industry, supply chain industry, governments, and corporate management, and the mining, and, all other industry. Can we decentralize something to make the system not controlled by one single entity, which we call private IT system, and to create public IT system, managed and governed by multiple parties? Then it immediately give people easy to trust, easy to access, and be the true ownership of your own data, and also transparent. So there's many benefits. But the cryptocurrency is, it's just one single one. But of course, Bitcoin actually created the whole concept of public IT system. So, but as you know, Tim, I'm personally against the cryptocurrency. So I think that's but for new technology, always the Ponzi scheme kind of business always very easy to adopt because it's quick money. So it makes sense. But now our job is to see beyond that, to see and how to adopt the same technology to all other industries and IT systems, and bring the human productivity to next level, right? Then eventually form another layer of full technology on top of internet. For any IT system, very easy to build this kind of public IT system. Today it's very easy to build private IT systems, right? Just go to AWS, open an instance, install the software, install the operating system, and you have your application. But in order to build a public IT system across different clouds with different people, it's very hard. So that's basically BSN trying to solve.
Good. Related to that, you gave an interview when we were in Dubai with Gulf Business, one of the kind of leading business and technology outlets there, and you talked a bit about central bank digital currencies, which relates in a way to cryptocurrencies in that they use some of the same technologies. Can you talk a little bit about what you're seeing with central bank digital currencies and the growth of them, and what's causing that, and where you see things going?
Okay, so first, it's central bank digital currency will most of them will be very likely to adopt the blockchain technology. So that's why I just said it's a central bank digital currency is basically a decentralized sovereign money system, right? So it's no longer just some cash, paper money, or just some digital accounts inside commercial banks. Then the commercial bank accounts is governed by the central bank regulations, stuff like that. It's the balance inside a commercial bank is the digital money. Okay, so don't get confused. The bank account balance is digital money. Okay, but it's centralized. It's the standard is built by each commercial bank, not by central bank. Okay, so then that's why we think it's a slow, everything. That's why we need a central bank digital currency system, because it's a centralized sovereign digital money. But I believe the benefit will be in the circulation. Okay, when the central bank digital currency is circulated, it will be decentralized environment. So that's why it makes the the money movements much faster. Then everybody can have easy access. And also, the settlement, the transfer, even foreign exchange will be super fast. So that's the benefit. But if, the central bank digital currency eventually still a centralized system, a big bank, a huge bank, everybody go to the bank to do all the business. It's still always. It's not the, central bank digital currency we talk about. It's still digital money, but it's centralized. So I want to emphasize, no matter it's sovereign money or it's a small business, the true power is inside the decentralization, okay, or public IT system. If it's not the public IT system, it's not fully decentralized or partially decentralized, then, it's still the old system. No matter it's central bank, commercial bank, it's so that's basically my, it's the same. It's the same to the cryptocurrencies. To the true power is, not only one party control the system. It's a multiple party.
Okay, good. So we back to BSN Spartan. So we launched the BSN Spartan network at the beginning of September. We did that launch here in Hong Kong, which is our headquarters, and then we went on a road show. We were in the UK, in Turkey, in the Middle East, and in Singapore. And I think, one of the things that I really took away from that roadshow was the interest from enterprises, from university students, from governments in non-cryptocurrency public chain technologies, and the concept you talked about of public IT systems. And so that roadshow was a really big part of our strategy, which is in expanding BSN Spartan, meeting with people in different markets, setting up partnerships for people in places like Turkey and London and US and Middle East and Singapore to be distribution partners for BSN Spartan, because I think we all agree that it's really important that that Spartan, a key strategy is to grow it via those partnerships, and I think seeing the interest and the excitement in those various countries was really interesting. I guess I'll give a couple examples that really impressed me. The first of which was in Turkey. We had a panel of university students from the local university who set up a blockchain club, not because the university told them to do it, but because they see promise in the technology, and they're really interested in getting involved and getting their hands on that technology. And that's a great example of kind of from the ground up, grassroots, students embracing the technology. And I think Spartan is perfect for students because it's low cost, because they can control it and use it anonymously. And I think if you look historically at big technology, innovation and waves of innovation, a lot of that has been driven by young people, by students who have an idea and want to use the new technology to kind of bring that idea to life. So I think that was really exciting to see in Turkey. I think in the Middle East, we announced our partnership with Virtual Vision, which is a local cloud service provider. And to me, what's exciting about that is you have cloud service providers who are increasingly seeing their enterprise customers come to them, wanting to use their cloud technology to, build distributed applications on blockchain infrastructure. And the partnership that we have with Virtual Vision is to use the BSN technology to enable them to provide blockchain as a service to their enterprise customers, to make it much easier, much faster, much lower cost for enterprise to deploy blockchain technology. And I think that the announcement that we made with Virtual Vision is just the first step in I think what will be many announcements over the next 12 to 18 months. And then I think going to Singapore, I'll have you talk a little bit more in detail, but one of the things that we're doing with BSN Spartan, because blockchain technology is so new, and many enterprises are just starting to figure out what they do with it and what they do with that infrastructure. An important part of our strategy is to integrate and provide system level services and applications, and even enable smart contract marketplaces so that enterprise users or even university students can take some of the basic operational functions that can be used in blockchain technology with smart contracts, and then build on top of that, right? Because the smart contract marketplace, much of it will be open source, and so I think that's a really important part of what we're doing, is providing those enabling services that help enterprises accelerate their adoption and really figure out how to use the technology. Maybe can you just give us one example in Singapore that we talked about, and maybe talk what are the functions that could be enabled, and how would people actually use it?
Okay, Tim. Yeah. First, it's because what we do is very, very new. We even come up new terms like public IT system or public layer of the internet. So it's very new. Some people say, okay, it will take you guys like next 50 years to even like people to understand what you guys are doing. But the confidence we have is not because we think our technology is so good. It's because of market reaction. Our in Hong Kong, our roadshow, I don't think it's 50 years. I think it's like 3 to 5 years. Everybody will understand, and also the public IT system concept and the technology will become a common sense. All the developers, know how to build a public IT system based on the blockchain technology or whatever operating system in the future, just like accessing database today. Database is a new technology 30 years ago. So it's slowly a technology become the, so the barrier between now and the people fully understand, it's very thin. Personally, I think you can poke through with one finger. It's not like a mountain, you need to dig for next 20 years. Even for internet, it was invented in the 60s. It took almost 40 years for individuals fully begin to embrace that. Even 500 years ago, even like many people even get killed, burned on a stake for talking about some new technology. So it's a personal. I think right now it's like 3 to 5 years. So when you pop, you go through. So that's why we are very confident. But still, like you said, this is totally new. When people say, even people understand our technology, they say, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Cryptocurrency is decentralized, the banking system, it makes sense. But what else we can do? People are still very hard to go through. But
how do we do it?
Yeah, how do we do it? And that's why it's really hard for people to understand infrastructure. So it's a concept. People don't see it. If you are not a technology, person, it's you couldn't even touch it. So that's why moving forward, one of our main strategy is to building and help the ecosystem to build different applications on Spartan. So it's part of our job, and also based on the customer needs, market requirements, then we continue to build tools to help people to develop and manage those applications quickly on BSN. So that's basically it. So we in 1 week, we are going to launch on Spartan not only the data center, portal, which means every single data center operator on Spartan network have their own portal to serve their own user. So inside those portal, we have a marketplace. It's called the smart contract marketplace. And we actually have like 4 categories of application listing there. Okay, the first category is basically BSN official services. So those are, everything is open source. Okay, everything is open source. So this first category is basically for smart contract already deployed on Spartan. So you don't really need to deploy them, spend money, everything. You just call them. For example, our DID, decentralized, identity system, you can just call them, create your own DID, right? So, but also because it's open source, you can download them, modify wherever you want and deploy as your own services. It's welcome. Okay, we actually encourage you as a developer to download our smart contract, official smart contract, and modify and deploy as your own. Okay, it's open source. And the second category is we actually working with third parties to have smart contract for specific thing. But those scenarios is more like the smart contract must be controlled by end user, by the owner. Because when you call our official smart contract, it's controlled by us. Because it's controlled by the decentralized governance system. So that's the second category. It's not deployed, but it's open source. Everybody can download it and just deploy that as you modify and then deploy. And the third category we call beginner smart contract. Okay, we have like 11 set of smart contract, fully open source, from the simplest, as simple as ERC20, to more complicated. But it's the purpose for the 11, or we have more in the future. The 11 smart contract is for anyone who is development background but don't know how to develop the smart contract. You can learn through the 11, and we are confident, in 2 weeks after you go through the 11 smart contract, open them, go through the methods, understand them, modify a little bit, deploy on Spartan, test fully, then you will learn everything in 2 weeks. Okay, and it covers most commonly used methods. So basically, finish those 11 smart contract, you should learn 60 or 80% of all the scenarios you can build with the smart contract technology. So then the last one is basically we collect all we think is good smart contract, just put together like 100. And I want to emphasize, for example, one thing we actually work with a partner in Singapore. That application called Tree Trust. It's actually developed by the Singapore MDA. It's a government agency. They invented and developed that, and it's an open source project, and we also one of the contributors. So the Tree Trust is actually a application, a smart contract you can use to encrypt and transfer your document. It's called a Tree Trust because there's a lot of document transfer involved in trade. So that's so we actually put the Tree Trust into both first and the second categories. So we have official Tree Trust smart contract you can call very easily to use. You don't need to build anything. But all the encryption is based on your own key. Okay, once you encrypt it, then nobody can open that, unless you give permission. And also we also offer Tree Trust as an open source project in category 2, which means you can download it and deploy the Tree Trust as your own controlled smart contract, then invite your partner to use that. So that's one example. We try to find this kind of not specific smart contract to address specific problem. We actually want to provide smart contracts tools. With those tools, you can build your own application based on your own scenarios, business scenarios, and business requirements. So that's basically, what we're trying to do for the ecosystem and for the, application. There's training, there's open source, there's already deployed services you can use. So we basically try to cover everything, but this will be heavily more and more rely on ecosystems.
Yes.
So we really welcome you. Anyone who is interested in, smart contract development to join us, to test our smart contract, to even contribute a smart contract. So that's, so we can, just teach more and more people how to build this kind of decentralized applications.
So I think there are really two really important pillars of the strategy, right? The first that I talked about earlier, which is building an ecosystem with partners, in all of the regions around the world. And then the second part of the strategy is, and it's very new because, as you say, we build infrastructure, and what we're doing now is creating a set of tools and examples and templates that our partners and end users can use in order to build applications to really unleash the power of what BSN Spartan and publicITsystem can do. And I think those are that's very new, right? Very new. So what you talked about, we're actually, as you said, launching over the next several weeks. The commercial launch of the BSN Spartan network is actually December 1st. So from December 1st onwards, anyone can come up. They can set up their own virtual data center. They can use USDC or fiat currency to make transactions on that network. And then, as you said, the smart contract marketplace and some of the end user portal tools will also be available for partners. Switching, Yifan, just briefly to the BSN DDC network in China, as part of the kind of quarterly update for BSN DDC, we're enabling third parties in China to be able to set up virtual data centers on BSN DDC. Can you maybe explain a little bit about why we're enabling that now, and what you think that ecosystem will look like inside China?
Okay. The BSN DDC network and the BSN Spartan network is one thing. It's actually the same thing, but just
same
one
concept, but different networks.
The same concept, different networks, because the Chinese regulation. All the network inside China is separated from the global network. For example, AWS, there's AWS China and AWS Global. So it's because the internet regulations in China. Okay, you have to separate that. So we separate the DDC network is only for Chinese market. Okay, Spartan is for global market. So, but the concept is same. We want people to be part of the network, set up their own data center. So in past 6 months for DDC network, people still access to our centrally managed nodes, right? Data centers. So it takes a while to be fully, in compliance with Chinese regulations. But in next week we will release the data center software for DDC network. It's also open source. Okay, even in China we're open source, so it's not really the China thing. It's a software thing. Okay, so it's fully open source, and So people can, just like Spartan Network, they can set up a data center of the DDC network. So it's basically the same concept. We try to make the DDC network and the Spartan network as close as possible.
Consistent, operate in the same kind of structure and framework, right? That makes sense. So Yifan, but before we go and close out for this month, I just want to mention to users that we want to encourage everyone who is interested in BSN Spartan to go up to spartan.bsn.foundation. Even if they don't want to set up and operate their own virtual data centers now, they can do a quick test, easy test of Spartan on our site. And as Yifan talked about, that suite of tools, that portfolio of tools that we'll have with smart contract examples and templates to build upon. So we really strongly encourage everyone to go up to spartan.bsn.foundation and experiment and work with the tools that we provided to build applications and test out the technology. So thank you everyone for attending this month's update, and we look forward to seeing you next week and seeing you up on spartan.bsn.foundation to test the technology. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Recording stopped.